Are you married? About to get married? You know what is the top cause of divorce? Finances. And financial infidelity is the start of financial issues in a marriage. Dr. Sharita Humphrey sat down with us to discuss the top 10 signs of financial infidelity so that you can avoid the divorce lawyers.
They're not open about what's happening with their paycheck, or there's monies that should be there. It's all of a sudden little things that are missing. It may start small, but then you start to kind of just see some behaviors that you start to question, looking at the bank statements and the bank accounts, and things are not adding up, and then they're giving you excuses maybe there's a glitch with the system or something happened. I've heard all this.
And so she's like, yeah, I didn't even know that he had other bank accounts. But she's right. He's right. If they go to probate them, because they're like, what? I don't know what's happening. It was a lot. And I thought it was just going to be women when she sent me it was men. I'm like, men were saying that too. I had no idea. And he's like, I had no idea she had this many credit cards. I had no idea that she had secret bank accounts. And because my focus is women, but there were men talking about this too. But it makes sense.
They send mail to another place or PO box. That's tricky. That's some tricky stuff right there.
Or sending mail to another place, or a PO box is now being opened. Credit cards that you had no idea about and they don't talk to you about it is another red flag, because if it's one, there's probably two or even 12.
A client told me, I didn't even know this person had a safety deposit box. Because you didn't, first of all, why do you have, did you have the safety deposit box before you met me? Okay, that's a different thing. Because most people are just like regular. If I want something, I'll just buy a safe from Dick's or, because what if you need it? The banks close on Sundays and then the federal housing. I don't know. It just seems weird. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
You're finding credit card statements in the mail that you're not aware of.
And they're throwing the mail in the trash before they even get into the house. Just it's so many things. Or all of a sudden the mail's coming to the house and all of a sudden everything just went paperless. Just all of a sudden okay, I'm trying to save a few trees. Okay, all of a sudden. So little bitty things. They're subtle. But those are things that you may not even suspect, because they may not even be paying those bills. Yeah. Because that's one of the reasons why they decided to go paperless. Because if you don't see, if you're not getting it and it's just going to their email or to whatever address that they have on file, how would you know?
Just figuring, you all of a sudden start getting random phone calls, and you hear them going away talking about their finances. They just want to start cutting things all of a sudden. And the reason why is because the debts have stacked up. You guys are used to living a certain lifestyle, and then all of a sudden they're making drastic changes, that they didn't normally talk about. Were some things that I would definitely say to look at. But also just making sure that when they start over monitoring your spending, it's because they're trying to balance theirs. And so, the little bitty things we may overlook and we're like, oh, well, but those little bitty things sometimes are things to look at and ask questions about, and probe a little bit more, because I've seen a couple of $100 in debt, and I've seen $500,000.
Oh, geez.
So one of the things is I think a lot of people don't think about is just being able to explain some all of a sudden large sums of money, making large purchases that that's normally outside of what this person's doing, and they have more money that they can't explain, or they're not telling you about it at all, and you're just trying to figure out where is all of this coming from. Showing up with expensive, more expensive habits, just some large expenses that are normally outside of what they normally spend. Expensive equipment, extended trips, very luxury items that most people, the normal everyday person who's working a 9 to 5 would consider something that's way outside of their expense. And especially if that person is within that type of income bracket, and then all of a sudden they're able to buy, everyone can possibly go get a new car. You can do that on credit, but certain things that is going to take a little bit more of a financial capacity is something that you definitely want to question. Or just showing up with, additional monies that's unexplained for. They're not additional overtime bonuses or anything that or even salary increase, and all of it. It's just all of a sudden, no explanation. It's just happening. I think that's something that a lot of people don't think about too, because most people think about financial anything when it's negative, about hiding, when it comes to maybe a difference, maybe a lack. But what about the one where it's a little bit over of a larger sum that is unexplainable? That is definitely another sign as well, that there is something that you should definitely talk about, because if you're not sure on where that money's coming from, then they could be potentially hiding even more money or something else. So definitely not just looking for the things that are the monies that are decreasing, also being able to explain the increase of income or monies without any type of work or anything else attached to it. Another one that I've seen, here lately, is not being able to explain the monies that's happening, because a lot of times people don't realize that I've seen where somebody thinks they've been going to work for months and even close to a year, and they were not working, that they were actually taking monies from their 401k and other retirement funds. Doesn't make it, especially it's easy to for those who are married to entrepreneurs, because you're not able to explain, the deposits. And I mean, people can get very crafty when they're trying to not hurt the other person. And, even though they're thinking with their interest, their best. So, because sometimes it's not that they're just trying to hide, they're just trying to keep the lifestyle afloat, not realizing that eventually you're going to have to figure out how you're going to make sense of certain, things when it comes to your taxes and all of those things. Because I've seen that they didn't find out until it was tax season.
Oh, geez.
And so, feel bad for the accountant. That's they have some sticky situations when it comes to that. So there's a lot of things that could be potentially happening. I've even seen it where someone's their paychecks have been garnered for judgments, and the other person had no idea that the debts or that the person had been sued. And now their paychecks have been garnished. Like, some people are cashing out their investments. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know. I don't know. I thought we had this invested. No, you don't. Your financial picture and portfolio is not what you thought. I mean, it looks good on paper, but there's nothing there. Or if it is, it's not as much as you thought. You know what I mean? Like, and so that when people get into that, they layer. And this is where you lead into shows like American Greed.
Yeah.
Because it starts right. All that you just said, all of this, if you just watch 1 to 3 episodes, it always starts right here.
Yeah.
It always, because you're like, the hell were they thinking? But you know what they said? The what's his name? Stacey keeps saying, the person keeps thinking they have to keep the lie.
Yeah. So
the amount of financial infidelity and abuse becomes even greater and massive. Yeah. Yeah, you get what I'm saying? And think about it. We've seen celebrities this. They're trusting people people they're in relationships with all the time. We see it. American Greed has a whole series, but we see it all the time on a very granular scale. But no one talks about it in your everyday 9-to-5 person or somebody that's a small business owner or entrepreneur. You don't see it on that thing. It has to tie into something big. But the reason why people can watch those shows and relate is because they've seen it in their family, in their environment, or somebody that they know, or it's them.